Today we're going to be talking about reading our first 2 open strings, which will correlate to our first 8 exercises in our Essential Elements book. The first thing we need to know is that all music is written on a staff. That's the 5 lines and 4 spaces that make up what we read our music on. Depending on which instrument you play, you'll have something different at the beginning, and we call this a clef. If you play violin, you're going to have a treble clef. If you play viola, you'll have the alto clef. And if you play the cello, you're going to have the bass clef. You don't necessarily need to know too much about these, just know that each of these will correspond to your instruments. When we're looking to read, the first thing we need to be able to do is identify our first 2 open strings. And depending on which instrument you play, they might be different. If you play the violin, your open D string is going to be the one highlighted in red. If you're looking down the fingerboard from playing position, it's the second from the left, or you can think of it as your left middle string. If you're playing the viola or cello, it's going to be the second string. Now this is a little bit different depending on whether you're playing cello or viola. If you're playing viola and you're looking down your fingerboard, when your instrument's in playing position, it's going to be the second from the right. If you're playing cello and you're looking down the fingerboard, it's actually going to be second from the left. The open A string is going to be in a different spot depending on your instrument as well. So if you're violin, it's going to be right here where it's highlighted red. If your instrument is in playing position, that will be second from the right, or your right middle string. And if you play viola, it's going to appear to be the one on your far right, or if you're cello, it's going to appear far left when looking down the neck of your instrument. All of the diagrams in this PDF are based on what your instrument would look like if you're holding it out in front of you, just to make that a little bit more clear. Now, when we're reading the pitches from the staff, each instrument is going to have them in a different spot. So we're going to start with violin. Violin, yours is going to be right below the staff. So it's not on the staff, it's the note that's right below and looks just like that. And that's for the note D. When you play the D, it should sound like this. Our other open string we're learning to read today is A. If you count the spaces from bottom to top, 1, 2, 3, 4, the A string will be on the second space. Our A string note sounds like this. Next, let's move to viola. If you play viola, you're reading the alto clef, which you'll notice is different than the one we just read. So if you're a viola, ears perk up now. We're going to count again from the bottom, 1, 2, 3, 4. The D string is our third space up from the bottom. That will sound like this. And our A string is right above the staff, so if we had a 5th space, which we don't, that would be where it's located. But our A string sits right on top and will sound like this. Finally, cello players, look alive. We are in bass clef for the cello. So bass clef, again, is different than the previous 2. We're going to have to count lines cello. So we have 5 lines, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The open D is on the 3rd line, or the middle line of the staff. That pitch will sound like this. And finally, our open A string sits on the 5th line, or the top line, however you want to think of it, either way. And that pitch will sound like this. Now that you've got acquainted with where your strings are, what they sound like, and how to read them, you can start looking at the first couple pages in your Essential Elements book. There will be another video for play along of these, so you can try them out at home. Happy practicing!